This is football primetime. I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with AJ Dean on the right, and you can't have football without fat guys. We got Billy Dean in the middle.
Thank you.
Fat guy in the middle, just like on an airplane, you're just stuck with the fat guy in the middle.
The worst.
No apologies. We are going to be rough, tough. The maiden voyage of football primetime, episode 1. We're going to talk about NFL football, college football, and newsworthy high school football. And we're also going to scout Pee-wee football for the next generation of football players. And with football, we're going to talk about tailgating as well, food, beer, more football. You're going to get all the football here. Even though my New York football Giants season is practically over, being 0-2 and losing their star running back, but we're not going to talk about that. And also, for our new listeners and viewers, football primetime, AJ Dean over there is not using an Ethernet cord, so his feed will freeze and we will make fun of him. And this is what we found out before.
I think he's already frozen.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
So AJ, you're supposed to have rich man internet to do football primetime. We will have to get you an Ethernet cord. This is why you don't use Wi-Fi. Billy Dean, let's talk some football. You know what? Where do we start? Because that Monday night game coming up is going to be a hell of a matchup.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into this one.
Yep. Where do you want to start off that?
Chiefs-Ravens is ridiculous. I mean, I figured we'd do some notes first, news from around the NFL. Obviously, let's talk some football and enjoy the show. As of the latest, so we start off with the COVID as you guys know, we also host Hockey on Tap podcast, but we're trying out the football game, and we did the draft and it went well, so we wanted to try it out. But now we're going and really focusing on football here, and we did the COVID for hockey, so we'll do the COVID for football as well. As of the latest test taken on August 30th to September 5th, the NFL administered 44,000 tests to a total of 8,349 people and team personnel, players and team personnel. Of those, only 8 were confirmed positive, 1 player, 7 personnel, so that was really good. It's worth noting a majority of the tests were used on team personnel, 25,000 tests for 5,700 personnel. And then to help protect the players and the personnel, all must wear contact tracing devices, as you can see on Hard Knocks, which was pretty cool stuff, at the team facilities, practices, and games. The devices called Safe Zone are placed in a lanyard or wristband, as well as players' practice jerseys and game jerseys, and the NFL also banned swapping jerseys to mitigate the spread. So NFL's doing all. AJ's back.
I have a mic muted.
You muted him. Yeah.
AJ!
I got the first one muted.
It's
AJ!
It's like a rookie hazing here. Like, you guys just didn't tell me things, and
that's not even hate. We're not even trying.
Yeah.
We're not even trying, AJ. But you know what? You just said Safe Zone. The COVID thing that the NFL is doing. Like, I can hear it right now. Roger Goodell, doing his commercial. NFL Safe Zone tracking, COVID tracking. That's pretty cool. I mean, you know what? Player safety first, obviously. But you know what? It's good to see some kind of normalcy. But what do you guys think about no fans? I know other sports are doing, but when you think of football, when you think of college football or NFL football or any football, it's almost like, I don't know. It's enjoyable, the TV, watching it, but and then when they pan out, it's like, where is everybody? You get that feeling like
what was it? Game one. The first game of the NFL season was KC and oh man, who did KC play game one? I'm forgetting. But they had a few fans in the stadium. Played, obviously a good game. Man, why am I blanking on KC's schedule? Anyways, so they've had some fans. I know that some other teams are looking to get fans in the stadium. It's not completely, vacant, but New York, you're not seeing that around here. You're not seeing it in Boston, the big cities, LA. You're not doing any of that. It's the Midwest teams where it's not as bad as it is around here in the big cities, and obviously you want to see fans there, but it is what it is. AJ, maybe get a word in.
Get a word in before you freeze.
No, I mean, would you guys just talk about the safe zone and fans?
Yeah, fans in the stadium.
I mean, it was pretty cool seeing it. Like week one on Thursday. Seeing Casey and all that. Of course, they're having them in Florida, right? Where rules and laws don't apply. But no, it's cool.
Go ahead, Sam.
Oh, I thought AJ froze again. I can't tell.
Yeah, now you can't tell. It just stops.
I'll just continually move around. Just so you can see.
Yeah, you just got to keep bobbing and weaving. Bob and weave. They played Texans week one. That's right. 34-20 game. Yeah. Texans with a ridiculous schedule to start off, but we'll get into that a little bit too. But basically, go ahead, Sam. Sorry,
I got to get to Monday night's game.
Yes.
Let's
go right to it.
Let's go right because I can't. Mahomes versus Jackson. Is it Jackson?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's Lamar.
Yeah. Because there's Tavares, yep. I get them mixed up all the time.
Oh, Tavares, ex-Seattle Seahawk, great quarterback.
Yeah. So, there's the MVP debate. It's early season hype. I was actually, and I'm going to criticize right now. I actually watched the ESPN today. I had it on the background, and podcasting and all that. I kind of, I used to be a big Sports Center fan and all that, but Max Kellerman, he's terrible. Just terrible. Just the banter back and forth. And what's the other guy? Is it Stephen A. Smith?
Yeah, Stephen A. Smith.
It's just going on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Anyway, and then I thought to myself, I can't gain anything out of this, so I'll bring my opinions to football primetime. But also, what about the Raiders? They opened up their new stadium. Again, no fans. They look good. I mean, I kind of feel bad for that fan base.
Yeah. No, I mean, they obviously leave Oakland, and, last year they were in LA for a little bit, but, now they're in the new stadium, and the thing looks like the Death Star, and it's this big black, monstrosity in the middle of the desert. But yeah, it's fun stuff to it looks awesome. And then John Gruden's out giving pump up videos, doing the haka with the guys in the locker room, and it was funny. Apparently, he was bewildered that actually made the news and was out in the public. I was like, dude, everything you do in the locker room is filmed now. They want everything out there, so it's content. So, but yeah, I mean, good stuff. I mean, obviously, it's the game of the week. The Chiefs Ravens both are 2-0. Could it be the AFC Championship game that we were supposed to see last year before Tennessee ruined it? We'll see. I mean, Chiefs coming off a close win against the Chargers. Justin Herbert with the whole issue with. I mean, we'll get into this too, but talk about injury luck.
Malpractice.
Tyrod Taylor, malpractice too. Tyrod Taylor's doctor decides to pierce his lung instead of.
Actually, I shouldn't laugh.
No, that sucks. I mean, that poor doctor. First of all, the doctor's done. He's toast. Go ahead, AJ.
I say, well, the thing I didn't realize that's actually a big risk that can happen with those shots. Especially when they're getting them in the ribs, is you can puncture a lung, which I mean, you never think about. With all these guys getting the painkiller shots and stuff like that. Yeah. But it's actually a pretty big risk apparently. So
yeah, it sucks for that doctor because he's obviously never gonna have a job there again. No one's gonna trust him to do anything. So, but so. So, Justin Herbert there, he gets a start. We'll get into that game. But, Mahomes, obviously coming off with the 302 yards passing and the 2 touchdowns. The big question is, can the offensive line give Mahomes and Clyde Edwards-Helaire enough time against a defense that's, dominated Deshaun Watson for 4 sacks. Mahomes was sacked once against the Chargers and had to scramble a few times. And then, CEH only had about 38 yards rushing, a bad fantasy game for myself, which, no one cares about your fantasy team. But, and then look on the other side. The Ravens are looking to avenge an AFC championship, loss. And, Lamar's, coming off 204 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 54 yards rushing. I mean, the guy's MVP last year. He's going to be in the conversation this year. I mean, they have a great team. You have Marquise Brown, although I believe he might be hurt. I just read something about that. We'll see if he does play. But, 10 receptions this year, 143 yards. And then obviously the big boy tight end, Mark Andrews, 6 receptions, 87 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's looking to add and put pressure on that defense that's given up about 269 yards per game. The Chiefs, that is. The Chiefs, though, are really good on the outside, which I think that'll be good against Marquise Brown. They can defend really well. They have decent quarterbacks with speed. So if they just start worrying about that inside game, it could be an interesting little matchup. And then, AJ, you had another one that you wrote down, which is pretty good, that the other big factor.
Yeah, just the running back by committee that they have there with J.K. Dobbins, Mark Ingram, and Gus Edwards. They've
and Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, and Lamar Jackson. Yeah, you forget about him almost.
Four-headed monster.
But Kansas City's been giving up a lot of yards. I feel like that's been their always constant kind of thing. So it's gonna be interesting. I don't know if it's gonna be a shootout or what. Honestly, with that.
I got the shootout. I think, and we'll get in. We'll be doing a little betting segment. Bill's betting bit, and then AJ's got a little fantasy forecast too. But my over, Chiefs Ravens 53.5. You can give me that any day of the week. But I'll give you my other one later on. We figured add a little betting lines. I'm doing prop bets and stuff. All this crazy junk. I'm actually doing pretty well. So I figured I'd maybe give some tips. Yeah, maybe give some tips to people who want to lose even more money. So there we go. Sam, you got any more on this game? Obviously it's the best game this week. There's only one other game we thought was game of the week.
This is why I think Kansas City would win, and I'll give you why Baltimore would win, right? So this is why I think Kansas City would win. They're Super Bowl champs, right? They have a team concept, and Andy Reid just broke the curse. He's on fire right now. This is the premier. They are the team to beat, right?
Yep.
But on the flip side, Baltimore Ravens, their entire offense revolves around that quarterback. Just without him, it doesn't. I don't know what kind of team they would be. Maybe an average or above average team, a little bit above average. But he makes that team go. So it's kind of like I like what Baltimore has. It's like all or nothing. Just go, 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 go. But what happens if their quarterback gets hurt?
Matt Moore played pretty well last year in the games that he was out. So it's Steve Echeverria, obviously one of the co-hosts of Hockey on Tap podcast, saying that Denver actually have 6,000 fans this weekend. So thanks, Steve. But yeah, Matt Moore, I thought he played pretty well when Mahomes was hurt. I think it was that hip injury. He's a capable backup. Yeah,
I was actually talking about Baltimore.
Oh, sorry.
I feel like the whole offense is designed for that quarterback.
So if I remember rightly, is it still RG3 as the backup?
RG3. Yeah.
Baltimore? The guy had some time, with Washington. He was Washington R words, as one of our favorite podcasts to talk about. But the former Redskins, the football team, he had some seasons there that were awesome. Can he come back in and capably fill in? That's to be seen. He has the talent. So that's with every team, right? Though if you lose your quarterback, other than the Chargers, who had a game manager as their quarterback, and then they have the rookie come in and he lights it up. But that's every team, right? You lose your quarterback and your season's pretty much kaputs. These teams can get away with, and we'll get into the injuries too. These teams can get away with losing running backs, losing wide receivers, next man up. But that quarterback is a whole different ballgame. Look at the Jets. I mean, Sam Darnold gets hurt last year. They bring in Falk, who was terrible, and then I forgot who was the guy that blew his ACL on like the first sack against the Browns.
I don't know, but we should just leave that dumpster fire of a team alone, please. You don't need to bring that up on the podcast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. By the way, so obviously Sam's a Giant fan. I'm a Jet fan. AJ is technically a Jet fan, but I mean, for all the Jets fans, I'm sure they'd be okay with him being a Packers fan because that's what his girlfriend is, and maybe she'll actually convert him over instead of the husband converting the wife over to their sports teams. So we'll see. We'll see how that happens. Yeah. But Travis Simeon, Steve, I asked you to be on the podcast. You should have just been on the podcast so you could, tell me exactly who I'm, messing up. Yeah, Trevor Simeon was the guy who I think blew out his knee being sacked by the Browns. It was just a travesty. But anyways, it's the Jets, so they're a travesty no matter what. But let's get back into the news section real fast, and then we'll go back to the games because we had some. And one of the biggest pieces, right? The football world lost an all-timer yesterday. Bears Hall of Fame running back Gale Sayers passed away at the age of 77 from dementia. Steve behind the scenes. He's considered Gale Sayers, that is considered one of the greatest running backs in history, despite a major knee injury that cut his career short. The Kansas Comet, as he was nicknamed, was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1977, the youngest ever at age 34 after 7 years in the NFL. The five-time All-Pro averaged 5 yards per carry for his career, twice led the league in rushing with the AP. Twice led the league in rushing, was the AP Offensive Rookie of the Year, and a member of the NFL All-100 team. He rushed for just about 5,000 yards, has 39 touchdowns, and led the league in all-purpose yards in both 1965 and 1966 with over 2,200 yards from scrimmage. And, obviously the good stuff, that's all great stuff about him. But just as a person, Dick Butkus called him a highlight film, one of the best Bears ever, and more importantly, a great person. We never saw him play, but, you just watch highlights and you hear more stuff about this guy, and you see all his play, and he was, an all-timer, one of the best running backs. And, obviously thoughts and prayers go out to the Sayers family, and, you wish them, well in this tough time. But, yeah, I mean, that was obviously, big news in the football world and really sports world in general. And the other big thing was week 2 injuries, which we can get into right now because there's an abundance of them. JTS Jets on the we're actually on football primetime on Facebook Live. You can get us on there, ask questions, or just make fun of us like Steve's doing right now. Obviously the NFL is full of injuries every week, but we obviously want to focus on the major ones, or at least the injuries that make major news. And we'll go one by one and we can talk about it. We just talked about Tyrod Taylor with that punctured lung by the team doctor. He was rushed to the hospital. Obviously had Justin Herbert come in, had a really good game, and he'll be starting game 3 because Taylor's still out. But yeah, I mean, that's one of those, injuries that you don't want to see. You don't really want to see any injury, but the fact that it didn't even come while playing is the worst part. But yeah, you when you heard about that, you're kind of chuckling about it, but it's, it sucks. Rookie wide receiver, Philadelphia Eagle, Jalen Reagor is now on the IR for his thumb injury. Another team that's been riddled by injuries, the Denver Broncos, Drew Lock with a shoulder injury. They just picked up Blake Bortles, so we'll see who gets this. I mean, I know they're going to have Driscoll start there, but Blake Bortles coming in, the ex-Jaguar.
Apparently they were high school rivals, which I found that out earlier this week, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, both from Florida. One played for Florida and one played for Bortles played for
Central Florida.
Yeah, Florida. So he's back in the NFL, which is good to see. That beautiful bald head. Cortland Sutton is out for the year with an ACL injury. So that's a big blow to whoever's on a quarterback that team. For the Indianapolis Colts, Paris Campbell, wide receiver, is out with a PCL injury day to day. Well, actually more like week to week. New York Giants, Sam, why don't you just get into the Saquon Barkley ACL out for the season? Not only that, but they also got another bit of bad news. Sterling Shepard, turf toe, and he's on the IR at least 3 games.
You know what? I know I'm a Giants fan, but I'm going to say this, and I don't wish harm on anybody, but this may be a blessing in disguise. This forces a new coach, a new direction to finally get this team playing as a team with a team concept while Saquon is out. This is Daniel Jones's team right now. You want to have leadership at the quarterback position. This is the time for Daniel Jones to stop fumbling the football and do something with it. And you know what? Sterling Shepard, he gets hurt a lot, but they got Slayton. They got a tight end, Ingram. Mm-hmm. They've got still got some weapons. It's going to be a running back by committee. I think that is what the coach wants. And you know what? They look more organized so far than they have in the last 2 or 3 years. They look respectable. They suck, but they look respectable. I know that's an oxymoron, but I'm hopeful here that Judge will get this thing going. It's going to take time, and let the offensive line gel a little bit.
Marshall on Facebook Live.
Go ahead, Bill.
Oh, go ahead, AJ. I'd say Marshall on Facebook Live, praising Sam on that one. He thinks that the Giants only keep Saquon through 2 franchise tags. I'll let you go, AJ, first, and then I'll touch base on that one real quickly.
No, so they've had flashes of looking like a pretty good offensive team. They had the one drive, in Pittsburgh where obviously Jones with the terrible interception that is just awful. But they've shown like pretty good flashes of being a decent offense. And like you said, maybe having Saquon out is a blessing in disguise for them.
Well, yeah. I just want to sorry, Billy. I just want to add one thing. This is Judge's team. We're 2 games in, right? But his type of game is just smash mouth football, and that takes time to get the right pieces, the right players. Playing the game. So, and the Giants were playing this like gimmick offense previous 2 years with Pat Shurmur as head coach. Like, it was a gimmick. It's all these switcheroos and fancy stuff, but it just never went anywhere. So I consider this year as just establishing the foundation. And why I say, okay, Saquon's out. Yeah, it sucks. But I think that they can actually start forming finally a cohesive team on both sides of the ball. But their special teams looks decent so far from what I see.
Yeah, so Saquon, I'm one of those people, talent is talent, right? Whether it's a running back, wide receivers, it's a guy you want to give the football to. I'm not saying you need to force feed Saquon Barkley, but he's someone you want on the field. I do think they'll give him a longer-term contract just because you see all these running backs and talent. If there's a big injury concern with him, that's a totally different animal. But, Joe Judge has been no nonsense. It's been fun to watch him. He's in the dirt with them, mud, wrestling away footballs and stuff. And, hopefully brings that Tom Coughlin-esque kind of feel to the team, which people obviously miss. And they, you miss the good old days, right, when it used to happen. Daniel Jones is one of those guys everyone expected to take a big leap this year. I'm a big fantasy football player, right? So everyone expected him to be one of those guys that, jumps into the, the starting capabilities for a fantasy football team. And that means, points and production. So you expect that from a young guy. And, you'll see what happens with him and his growth and development. He has weapons. Like I said, we had Sterling Shepard. He's out for a little bit, but Darius Slayton looks good. Evan Ingram, if he can get his head straight, and he's more of a wide receiver than a tight end. I realize that he's not really blocking all that much. Marshall saying the same thing, but he's definitely a talented pass catching tight end. And then you got other guys in the wings that help him out. You've other wide receivers that have played pretty well. Their offensive line, obviously getting Andrew Thomas, who Sam in the draft. I remember you having quite the reaction to Andrew Thomas. Actually, here, what do you think about Andrew Thomas now that you've seen him a little bit?
Well, it's just 2 games.
No, but he has looked pretty decent. I mean,
you know what? At that time, when they drafted him, I was kind of like,
it's a tackle. It's not a sexy pick. I know.
I wanted defense.
Yeah, Isaiah Simmons.
I wanted defense. Yeah, I wanted defense. But you know what? You can't teach big guys like Andrew Thomas. So I'll take it. He comes a good pedigree, but what I liked after he was drafted, and there was an interview talking about the reporters were asking him his dreams of winning the Super Bowl and all that, and Joe Judge is like, knock it off.
Yep,
knock it off. And you know what? I like that. Take it one step at a time. Keep it simple. So. But that's, again, so far so good on that front. But we'll see. It's only 2 games in.
No, yeah. So Jeff Zawacki joined on Facebook Live, says Minshew will throw a pick tonight, but with his mustache. Minshew will throw a pick tonight, but his mustache will throw 3 touchdowns. You heard it here first. So great prediction by Big Z. He also says to stop talking about the bad teams and start talking about the good teams. He's a Packer guy, so we'll get into that. Don't worry, Jeff. So week 2 injuries, we're talking about it. Going from Saquon and the Giants to Devontae Adams and Julio Jones, both out with hamstring injuries week to week. Julio might play this week. It looks like Devontae Adams is probably out.
He always plays.
Yep. For this game today, DJ Shark is out. He won't be playing, so look for Laviska Shenault, which we'll get into a little bit. He's one of my sleepers. Christian McCaffrey, high ankle sprain. He's out 4 to 6 weeks. It's a big blow to Carolina. Not that they have been a great team, but he's all their offense. So that kind of, that's a big hit. Michael Thomas, he's still out with Hammond's high ankle sprain. So we'll see how Drew Brees continues to spread out the ball. I don't think he's played that well. We'll also touch base on the game, which is Packers and Saints. The entire San Francisco 49ers team is injury prone or on the injury block. Garoppolo with an ankle injury is questionable. It probably looks like he's not going to play. George Kittle, sprained knee, probably also out for Sunday's game. Raheem Mostert, knee, he's out for a while. Tevin Coleman, knee, he's also out for a little while. Dee Ford has a back and neck injury. Their entire defensive line. Dee Ford, back neck, he was out since week 1. Nick Bosa, torn ACL, out for the year. And then Solomon Thomas also with another knee injury. And they're just slaughtered. So you feel bad for San Francisco. Obviously, they were talking about the field being sticky, and that new turf that the Jets and Giants laid down was not good enough to play on. So the league apparently said it was okay and it was good.
Yeah, it sucks because back-to-back weeks of playing in the Meadowlands, and obviously like their whole team was expressing concern of just being scared to step on the field, and I think it's funny too, like kind of like the insult to add insult to injury. Their MRI truck broke down trying to get back to the facility and take their MRIs. Yeah. So they had to wait an extra couple hours for their truck to be fixed, and it's just Meadowlands is a curse. That's the way I see it.
I wonder if any of them during their time, I don't know if it's even open, do they go to the American Dream Mall or whatever they call it?
Yeah, the Xanadu, whatever that was.
Yeah. Yeah, don't go skiing over there, boys. You never know. You never know.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah, you could imagine some of the players go down skiing and then getting hurt, and yep, that'll never happen again. Some positive injury news: Kenny Golladay is hopefully returning for the Detroit Lions, and then Chris Godwin cleared the concussion protocol and most likely is lining up for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So other news: Drew Brees is confident and feels borderline great. So we'll see how he. Like I said, he's gonna get the ball on that Sunday night, one of the Sunday games. Sunday games. Sunday night, I believe it is. Yep. Russ Wilson is the favorite for the MVP. He has almost as many touchdowns, 9, as incompletions, 11. So that's crazy stats he's putting up. Buffalo fans are apparently paying over $1,000 for Josh Allen's rookie card. So that's kind of funny. They're breaking tables and their bank accounts. Belichick apparently looks beat up during his press conference. I don't know if you saw it, but he was wearing this hobo shirt with it had like rips all throughout the shoulders, and he looked all disheveled, and he was like baggy eyes. He looked like he came off the streets.
Well, it's funny too because like you finally see him in like his first commercial ever too. That Subway commercial.
Yeah, he's in 2 of them. There's one where there's the one where he cuts off the guy's shirts on his suit, right? And then there's another one where he's just eating a hoagie and he doesn't say one word. He just eats the sandwich and then that's it. He doesn't say anything. It's like it's perfect.
Subway too.
Yeah, it figures once Tom leaves, he develops some kind of a
personality.
Personality, yeah. The Raiders Stadium, which we talked about, but Mark Davis, there was talk about he didn't go to the game because fans weren't going, right? So he was like, I'll just stay at home. There's a couple guys making jokes on Twitter saying that he was just at PF Chang's and basically forgot about the game. So, yeah. I mean, our brother-in-law sent this to us. Some idiot bet $35,000 on the Falcons to win with like, I don't know, was it 7 or 6 minutes left? They were up by they were by 16 points. They allowed 2 touchdowns and then the 3-point field goal with that horrible onside kick, not recovery. So he was going to win $1,000. He bet $35,000 to win $1,000 and lost it all. So that guy should never again pick up his phone.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Rest of the season, there's a lot of talk. Who would you take, Cousins or Wentz? I'm actually going to go Kirk Cousins. I like Carson Wentz more, but Kirk Cousins, I think, has the better year. Wentz has been terrible, and I know Cousins has too, but, who knows what's going to happen there with Minnesota and the Eagles.
Avoid both.
Yeah, avoid both. Another one was, where's Gronk? I mean, he's pretty much been, I saw him in that first game. He was doing some heavy blocking, doing well. I think he had 1 target, and then I think he also had 1 target and a catch in last game. He's Florida maybe partying a little too hard, but I mean he's going to be there in crunch time. Tom knows that, and he's just going to rapport with these the other guys in that team.
So I feel like all summer long you've been seeing like on social media from Brady, like how they're all gelling, how the offense is going to be amazing, and they've looked flat. I think for the most part, Brady doesn't look nearly as good as what he was last year, years prior. So we'll see. The offense needs to figure itself out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Devonta Freeman signed with the Giants. Obviously, he's going to be filling in for Saquon. They also have Deion Lewis and Wayne Gallman. So we'll see how well they that 3-headed tandem goes. Kyler Murray and his scrambling. I don't know if you guys have watched, Sam. I don't know if you watched it too, but Kyler Murray just running the ball is ridiculous. He'll spin just to spin. And I don't know if you saw that, but there was one play he was running down the field, and he just did a little 360 real quick. No one was even around him. He just does it just for fun. It's like a kid just playing in the game and just couldn't give he's having fun. And it's funny to watch. But Kyler Murray is a good young quarterback. Bueller. All right, so let's get into the Thursday. Yeah, well, I was looking for Kyler Murray, anything, but all right. So Thursday night game, I'm already getting texts on when we're going to talk about the Jaguars. It's a beautiful game. Dolphins, Jaguars. Dolphins at 0-2. Jaguars 1-1. Minshew's 49 of 65, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's looked good in both games, minus those late interceptions against the Titans last week. The late interception, not multiple. He's spreading the ball out pretty well, has passed to 8 different receivers in both games. On the other side, you got the ageless wonder, Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's got 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I think, AJ, you were saying that it was dubbed the facial hair face-off game?
Yeah. The beard versus the mustache. It's going to be
two beautiful things.
Yeah. No, but like you said, like Minshew's looked actually pretty good so far this year. He's making smart passes, and other than that like you said, that late interception where just kind of, offensive lineman or defensive lineman just kind of put the hand up there and just unlucky bounce. Both teams are giving up a lot of yards, so I think it's going to actually be a pretty high scoring game.
Sorry.
A lot of it
was
is
for
just
Steve. Steve was asking if we were drinking on this podcast, and I know AJ has a beer. I got Cape May crushing it. Thank you, Shorts guy. He went down. Awesome beer. I'm also got a root beer over here, so not exactly drinking, but sorry, AJ, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good. So I think like 2 big things that are gonna happen in this game is James Robinson, the rookie, had a really good game last week with over 100 yards. So I think he's gonna have another pretty good game against a terrible Dolphins defense. And I think the game manager Ryan Fitzpatrick, not gonna cut it this week. I think he's gonna probably throw a couple interceptions and just waiting for Tua. So
yeah, well, that's what I say. So I mean, could you even call Fitzpatrick a game manager? He's basically just waiting for Tua to take the job, just like Tyrod Taylor on the other side. Dolphins are 3rd in the NFL, giving up an average of 440 points per game, 440 yards, not points, but have had 2 tough matchups, obviously playing the Bills and the Patriots. Josh Allen had 417 yards of 4 touchdowns last week against the Dolphins. The Jags aren't far behind, having given up just about 400 yards per game. They ranked 10th. They held, Derrick Henry to 84 yards on 25 carries. The 2 factors that are going to play, if Jacksonville can get the run going with James Robinson, who's played pretty well in taking over for Leonard Fournette. He had his first career 100-yard rushing game last week against the Titans. The Dolphins have, given up about 5 yards per carry, so we'll see if James Robinson can get going. And the Dolphins, if they can limit interceptions, the Jags have been giving up on average about 300 yards passing a game. Tannehill, had 239 yards of 4 touchdowns. Former Miami Dolphin great. Mike Gesicki, his favorite target, had 11 targets last week, 130 yards and a touchdown. And then Devontae Parker, who had a great year last year. He's getting the things underneath him this year. He had 53 yards and a touchdown. But yeah, I'm going to pick Minshew and the Jags. I think they'd take another win. I think Dolphins go to 0-3. The Dolphins are not nearly an 0-3 team. I know they're not great, but I don't think they're that bad. The worst team we'll talk about in a little bit when I root for. But yeah, I got the Jaguars in today's game. What do you guys got?
Yeah, I agree. I think the Jags take it. Dolphins have had some bad luck in playing the 2 one of the 2 best teams in the AFC, and the Bills and the Patriots. So those are 2 high scoring offensives. So but I just think the Jags take it.
I'm going to be a jerk here and just say the Dolphins are going to win because my buddy my buddy Hans is a big Marino fan, and that's all I have to say.
Oh, Hans, that swell fella. I love Hans. Actually, we have a pretty good one. So, me and Hans met actually at the was at a bar in was a bar in Hoboken, and for the first time, and I was wearing a Ranger jersey, and he just was screaming in my face, and he knew I was you could have come in as a buddy, as a friend. He just yelling at me profusely. I was absolutely hysterical. First Hans experience is always something you'll remember for the rest of your life.
It always starts off on a bad foot, usually. It's always going on the wrong foot,
Yeah. Yeah, we will be weekly, on Facebook Live. People are asking. It'll be a weekly show. You get to watch some football before Thursday night's games. Those Sunday afternoon games, we won't go through all of them because, we got about another 20 minutes or so. But Bears-Falcons, Bears at 2-0, Falcons 0-2. They're already talking about Dan Quinn's last game as the Falcons head coach. I mean, that Dallas onside kick was atrocious, and them basically saying they're not prepared. The owner is saying that Falcons might have the best wide receiver corpus in the league. Obviously, Julio Jones, but Calvin Ridley and Russell Gage have been awesome. Calvin Ridley, first-round pick, obviously. They're averaging 350 yards per game, second in the league, which is funny because they're 0-2, and they just have Falcons-type losses. I think they're the first team since 1933 to basically lose on a I'll look at the stat. It was absolutely fantastic. But they're averaging, all those receivers are averaging over 80 yards a game. Ridley's leading the pack with 119 yards and 4 touchdowns. The Bears ranked 19th in passing yards per game, but did get the pass rush going last week with 4 sacks against terrible Giants line, other than Andrew Thomas. The Bears need to get their passing game going early. Falcons are one of the worst passing defenses, about 370 yards per game. They have no interceptions. Obviously, Mitch Trubisky, right? Which one are you going to see? You're going to see the guy against against the Detroit Lions who had 242 yards and 3 touchdowns and a really good QBR, or are you going to get the guy against the G-Men where he has 190 yards, he has a couple ducks. That one pass for the touchdown against the Giants was absolutely terrible defense. The ball's just floating up in the air, and I think the Giants cornerback actually pushed him to the ball to get that touchdown. Mm-hmm. I'm sure we'll get some good feedback from those Giants fans. Allen Robinson, will he be traded? We'll see, but. We're not going to pick every game. We'll save those for the end, but we'll give you always the Thursday nights and then the Monday nighters, and then we'll pick 3 teams that we feel we can talk about. So AJ, you want to go into the next one, Washington Browns?
Yeah. So Browns coming off of a pretty good win, 35-30 against the Bengals. Can their offense actually keep it up? They actually played pretty well. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt both combined for 210 yards and 3 TDs. They were looking really well. Last week, the football team gave up 160 yards and 2 TDs. So, I think the big factor is going to be the run game for this one. As kind of Billy alluded to before, Kyler Murray accounted for 67 of the Cardinals' yards and both scores. So, the Washington line, not looking as good right now. Baker obviously looked a lot better than he did week 1 with 219 yards passing, 2 TDs. He did have the 1 interception. But I think the big factor is that he's actually finally getting the ball to Odell Beckham Jr. He had 74 yards and 1 TD last week. So I think that's the big thing is you got to get him going, and you got to get the run game going.
So he's back to being a number 1. He's back to being a number 1 wide receiver.
Much. Yeah, he had
he's no longer a number 2.
A year of nothing, and then finally getting it back. So
you didn't get that joke. It's all right. Hopefully there's other people online get it. Yeah, Browns. number 2 wide receiver.
It's a little all right over that.
Yeah, I saw that one.
But Washington's defense, I think has to kind of step it up. They had 3 sacks last week. Total of 7 for the year. So they're going to need to get pressure on Baker and make him look like the terrible quarterback that I actually think he is. I was so high on Baker for the longest time, and I think last year kind of just proved me wrong. And then, but the one I think bright spot for Washington is Terry McLaurin. I mean, the man is a beast. He's good. McLaurin has 186 yards receiving already, 1 touchdown. Through 16 games, he's got 70 receptions, over 1,000 yards, and 8 TDs. So he's looking really well.
Yeah, Steve on Facebook Live. I'll let you read that one. But Abby says I'm not the funny brother, Bill. You're talking about Baker. I mean, coming in the league, I thought he did have a great chance at being a good quarterback, and I still think he has that great chance. He just, I don't think he exactly played the way he needed to, and he might have been worrying a little too much about the spotlight and things like that, and not really taking care of his game. But the guy's got the talent. I mean, number one pick. I thought he did deserve it. If he kept being that player that had the chip on his shoulder and wanted to go out and really just take the league by storm, I think he could. I mean, he's talented. So we'll see what's going on, and how that works out with him in Cleveland. We'll go to the next game, Titans-Vikings. Titans 2-0, Vikings 0-2. The Titans, Tannehill, with that contract extension last year, I thought he was looking great. I thought he would actually regress a little bit, but you wrote it here. Those last two games, 488 yards passing, 6 touchdowns, 120 QBR, which is ridiculous. The other big surprise is obviously Corey Davis. Through his 2 games, he had 137 yards, 1 touchdown. You figure A.J. Brown would be the focal point in that offense, and he's battled some injuries and inconsistency, but last year. He was definitely. It's good to see that he's turned a corner. He was a former number 1 pick. Everyone loved him coming out of college. Was Western Michigan, I think it was, and or is it Western or Central Michigan? But yeah, he's a great receiver, and he's finally showing it. So we'll see how he continues that play. Jonnu Smith has been another revelation for them. 8 receptions, 120 yards, and he already has 3 touchdowns, which already matches his season total from last year. And then Derrick Henry. Just a train. Vikings are giving up about 150 yards rushing a game. Henry's averaged about 100 yards per game and, 3.6 yards per carry, but, they give him the rock and they want him to run the ball and smash it down people's throats. 56 attempts over 2 games is crazy. The guy can just take the workload and it just, beats down on defenses. Vikings are obviously one of the worst ranked offenses at number 30 overall, and their defense is, right behind that at 29. They're going to need a big game from Dalvin Cook. Cook has 26 rushing attempts for 113 yards total. They need to give him the ball more, just like Derrick Henry. They need to, feed the beast. Over the past 2 weeks, the Titans have given up an average of 136 yards rushing, so maybe this is the team that finally he gets it going against. I just saw someone looked like I'm watching NFL Network, and it looked like someone had jumped off the Titantron. It was the bear, I guess. That is it a bear that? It's a jaguar. Idiot. Yeah. I was like, look at it. I was like, it looks like a bear. It's a jaguar jumping off the jumbotron, and he was like scaling down the jumbotron. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Idiot. So Cousins in the passing game has only averaged about 107 yards, which is the worst in the league. So I do think they get it going. They have too many talented wide receivers. Justin Jefferson, rookie. I think he needs to start getting going a little bit. I mean, it's 2 teams that should be pretty good. So a little bit of a change of pace here. Raiders, Patriots. Patriots are 1-1. Raiders 2-0. Derek Carr, looking pretty decent these last 2 weeks. Darren Waller, big time target. Obviously his favorite, 24 targets. He had 103 receiving yards and on 12 receptions and a touchdown. It's going to be a good matchup against that Patriots D that, gave up 5 touchdowns last week. Josh Jacobs has been, another workhorse, 26 touches, 90 yards a game. The Patriots, Jackson DeVille, Jared just said, is the name of the mascot. Thank you, Jared. Patriots, Cam Newton, right? They look to continue that offense. Newton, accounts for about 80% of the team's offensive yards, 552 passing yards, 122-yard rushing. 5 out of the 7 TDs scored have been by him, 4 rushing and then 1 passing. The closest is Sony Michel with about 56 yards rushing, which is crazy. Yeah, I mean, as Cam goes, so goes the Patriots, and you saw that, with him down in with the Panthers. Obviously, before he had Christian McCaffrey, it was a lot of the Cam show, and he had Steve Smith for a little while there during the Super Bowl run, and some decent pass catching, but there's a reason why he's the all-time leader for quarterbacks for rushing touchdowns. It's because he's built that way. He can take that beating. He's 6'5", 260. He's a big guy and just barrels people over. But one good thing you've seen is his relationship with Julian Edelman. Great wide receiver. Tom Brady obviously utilized him, and all those kind of guys. Him, Wes Welker, and Danny Amendola, and all these guys throughout the years. And if you can get that going with that slot receiver, it'll help your offense a lot. Against Seattle just last week, Edelman posted actually a career game, 8 receptions for 179 yards, which is pretty impressive considering he had arguably the best quarterback of all time throwing on the ball before this.
It's just amazing how different that offense looks in just a year. I mean, you go from like an air raid offense to the Cam show, like you said. It's scary seeing that man, with the ball. He's 6'8", 250, 260, right? So it'd just be terrifying, trying to tackle him in open space. The Patriots and the Bills are two the toughest teams to be in the AFC. That's for sure.
Yeah. You want to take the next one?
Yeah, sure. So this is the hopefully the non-injury game. 49ers at the Giants. They're back at the Meadowlands. So I think they're just trying to look to get out of New Jersey healthy. Obviously, we ran through all the kind of injuries with Bosa, Solomon Thomas, Mostert, all of them. I mean, not too much. I mean, I think the 49ers will still edge out the Giants. Giants, obviously, with picking up Devonta Freeman, I don't think you'll see a lot of him. Obviously, with just being signed, only a few days to really learn the offense. So, the big question is, can Daniel Jones kind of pick it up and have a little better play? Show kind of the talent that he was drafted at, and not kind of make the boneheaded jet plays that you'd expect. We'll go to the Bengals-Eagles. Both teams 0-2. Bengals looking to get Joe Burrow kind of his first win. Burrow last week played pretty well, 316 yards, 3 TDs, and a QBR of 90. Philly's defense, goes into the week looking a little shaky, giving up over 258 yards passing, and 3 TDs to the Rams. So they're giving up a lot of yards, and Burrow's looking to exploit that, maybe with the play action. Eagles look to get their offense going. Wentz through 2 games has 4 interceptions and has looked terrible. He's also been sacked 8 times. All sacks actually were by the football team of Washington. And he's had a lonely QBR of 23.2. So he's not been looking pretty good.
Yeah.
And then, I think the one bright spot for the Eagles is Miles Sanders. He's got a great matchup against the Bengals. Cincinnati has given up over 185 yards rushing to opposing backs. And, Sanders last week in his debut had, 20 carries for over 90 yards and a touchdown. So I think you give him the ball and let him run down the Bengals' throats.
So we do have about 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes tops. So we'll go really quickly through the next ones. Texans Steelers is a big game. Texans at 0-2, but they can turn around. They do have the quarterback. Deshaun Watson. Steelers obviously looking pretty good with Big Ben back. Pittsburgh has 10 sacks, 3 interceptions, and a fumble in 2 games. Their defense is looking awesome. So we'll see how Watson combats that. David Johnson needs to be a little more effective. And then obviously on the other side, Big Ben and the Steelers offense, looking to build off of last week, 311 yards, 2 touchdowns. Can the Texans get pressure? What will J.J. Watt and company do off that 4-sack game? And then Juju looks great. Let's go to the the team that I don't really want to talk about, but the New York Jets
Dumpster
0-2
fire.
against the Colts, 1-1. Can we just fire Adam Gase?
Mm-hmm.
He's a horrible head coach. Boomer Esiason on New York radio continually talks about how you got to give this guy time. He had 5 years in Miami, and you knew how bad of a coach he was there. I don't care that he's a year and so many games here, 2 games already. He's terrible. Just get him off the thing. The offense is terrible. 185 yards passing, 70 yards rushing, just 15 points per game. I mean, get out of here. Colts are going to smoke them. Jonathan Taylor, 101 yards rushing, the 1 TD against the Vikings, taking over for Marlon Mack, who got injured for the year. They're going to give the ball to him. Philip Rivers is going to hopefully limit the turnovers against the Jets, get a little more TY, and then that offense is just too good. I mean, I actually have a stupid parlay going and I included the Jets because I'm getting 17.5 points with the Jets. I'm like, hopefully they can hold it just close enough.
Take it.
Still get a blowout. Give them 17 points. I'll take the 17.5. I don't really want to get that close, but I'll take that. The Colts will smack them. Panthers 0-2. Chargers 1-1. Chargers obviously. Panthers without Christian McCaffrey. We'll see how that offense goes. Teddy needs to have a better game. Can Mike Davis take it over? I don't think so, but in terms of that kind of workload, the Chargers. We said no Tyrod Taylor. Justin Herbert's team now. He had a great game, 311 yards passing, the 1 touchdown, the 1 interception. He also had that rushing touchdown. He needs to get Austin Eckler and Josh Kelly a little more into the game, but they're a great 1-2 punch. So we'll see how that goes. I got the Chargers in that one. Buccaneers, Broncos, Tom Brady coming off a pretty great game. 71 attempts, 456 yards, 3 touchdowns, but he also had the 3 interceptions. Sorry, that's total stats. I just bludgeoned that one. But Denver's given up 275 yards per game passing. Best receiving core that Brady's ever had. I mean, they're already talking about that. I mean, Chris Godwin's awesome. Mike Evans is an enormous target. Obviously they still have Miller and Humphreys, 2 pretty decent short yard catchers. Fournette and Ronald Jones, can they get a good rushing game going? Denver, we already talked about. Jeff Driscoll is in. He's got no weapons. They're in trouble. Lions and Cardinals, Kyler Murray show. 337 yards passing, 79 yards rushing over the last 2 weeks. Kendrick Drake looks pretty decent. DeAndre Hopkins, 110 yards a game. First TD was last week. That trade just looks worse and worse every game. Yep. Hopkins for the first, Johnson in the first or second. Sorry, second round pick.
Bad, but yeah.
Yeah, no, Johnson. Well, I mean, they need to feed in the ball more, but that's because Bill O'Brien's an idiot. Actually, I'd still take him over Adam Gase. So, just learned this the other day. Same old Lions.
SOL.
Yeah, SOL. What would you rather have, the Lions or the Jets? I'd rather have the Lions because at least they have a decent quarterback.
Yeah.
Not that Sam's bad, but at least he has established himself, Matthew Stafford.
Yeah. Would you rather root for a team that totally disappoints you every week, or a team that's just a total dumpster fire and is going to lose? I think it's the Lions too.
You wrote this, AJ. Adrian Peterson's like Frank Gore, does not age, but at least Peterson's a Hall of Famer and Frank Gore is not. So that'll be my hot take of the week. I think he is a compiler, and that's about it. Who wouldn't Bill take versus Adam Gase? What? Frank Gore?
Yeah, that's awful.
Yes, he's a compiler. 15 years in the NFL. Of course you're going to be one of the higher leading rushers. Our run-up of the week game of the week was Rams Bills. It's going to be a good game. Obviously, we'll see what Josh Allen does. Goff on that side. We already talked about the Chiefs and Ravens. I think the Chiefs will take it. My picks real fast. I had Dolphins beating the... Actually, I just changed that up totally. Jaguars beating the Dolphins. Falcons winning and the Chargers winning. Real quickly, my prop bets. Gaskin for a player. I'd take the New York Giants and the points versus the 49ers. Moneyline Chiefs, who wants to get the positive 155 for the Chiefs to win. And then over-under, I had the Panthers-Chargers, 40. Take the over 44, and Lions-Cardinals under 55.
Mm-hmm. I had Bengals, Bills, and Ravens. I'm picking the Ravens over the Chiefs. I think it's gonna be a close game, but I think the Ravens.
And we did the fantasy forecast real fast. Myles Gaskin will have a really good game against Jacksonville. Alvin Kamara is the stud. You always want to start him, and then Will Fuller sit him. All right, Sam, take her.
I don't know how to end this podcast.
Yeah, we got to think of something.
Why don't we do what you guys do?
JETS, just end the season.
End the season.
We'll be back next Thursday. AJ will have an Ethernet cord.
Won't be frozen.